Hi, friends. We are once again here with a new chapter of life with Babaji. In the first chapter, we spoke about Munendra Maharaj, in which before his disappearance he confirmed to his devotees that he would come again. In the second chapter, we discussed certain events in the life of his supreme disciple, Mahendra Baba, who is considered as avatar of the Divine Mother. In May 1969, before leaving his physical body, Mahendra Maharaj appointed Sri Vishnu Dutt Mishra, popularly known as Shastri Ji, as the Acharya, spiritual head, and prophesied that Baba would reappear within a year. He also revealed a divine mantra that would help him identify Baba. This mantra was known only to Haidakhan Babaji, Mahendra Maharaj, and now Shastri Ji. Now everyone was eagerly waiting for the manifestation of Mahavatar Babaji. In the high altitudes of the Kumun Himalayas, amidst rustling forests and the roaring Gautam Ganga, lies a sacred cave near the village of Haidakhan. We've already discussed about this place in our first two videos. It is this very cave where Munendra Maharaj, also known as Haidakhan Baba, manifested. In 1970, a young man aged around 18 to 20 years, with a radiant and divine face, was seen in this cave. When some locals saw him, they felt his divinity. In September of the same year, Baba went to Mount Kailash and sat in a single place without sleep, food, or water for 45 days. His yogic powers astonished the villagers. Many tried to investigate. Who is he? Where did he come from? Who are his parents? But no one could find any answers. When the villagers asked, "Maharaj, who are you? Where have you come from?" the young saint replied with a gentle smile, "I have always been here." Elderly villagers who had heard stories of the great Haidakhan Baba from the 19th century and had witnessed his miracles realized that this was none other than Munendra Maharaj or Baba Haidakhan himself. Here, we wish to clarify something. When a divine soul is born through a woman's womb as a child, it is called an avatar. And when a divine soul takes on a physical body and appears without birth through a womb, it is known as a Mahavatar. Sri Mahendra Maharaj always referred to his Baba of Haidakhan as a Mahavatar, and he had confirmed that Baba would reappear within a year. His prophecy came true. In 1970, Baba manifested as a brahmachari, celibate ascetic, and ever since, we have recognized him as the great Baba of Haidakhan, a form of Lord Shiva, widely revered as Bhole Baba. The news of Bhole Baba's arrival began to spread. In March 1971, Bhole Baba arrived at Sambhe Sadashiv Kunj in Vrindavan. Devotees rejoiced at his sight. However, some still had doubts if he was the same Baba Haidakhan or popularly known as Munendra Maharaj. At this, Bhole Baba personally called for Sri Vishnu Dutt Mishra, popularly known as Shastri Ji. When he arrived, Baba smiled slightly and took him into a private room, closed the door, and whispered the divine mantra, the same one given by Mahendra Maharaj to help recognize Baba Haidakhan. Shastri Ji was stunned, filled with amazement and joy. He bowed at Baba's feet. He opened the door. He loudly proclaimed, "Victory to Baba! Bole Baba ke jai!" This is indeed the same Haidakhan Baba. Even after this, some people remained skeptical. As a result, some local authorities from Katgharia filed a legal case in the Nainital court of Uttarakhand, accusing Baba of seizing the ashram land. A trial began, and on the date, Baba appeared along with his devotees including Shastri Ji in the court. A large crowd gathered to witness this extraordinary case. The judge asked Babaji, "What is your name, and where have you come from?" Baba smiled but remained silent. Then, his devotees answered, "This is Babaji of Haidakhan, a great saint. He belongs to no one place and manifests wherever he is needed." The judge was not satisfied. He said, "That's not a legal answer. You must state your birthplace and the names of your parents." Suddenly, in a deep and powerful voice, Babaji said, "I have no mother. I have no father. I have always been." A profound silence filled the courtroom. Looking directly at the judge, Babaji laughed gently and said, "I was there before. I am now. And I will always be." His words carried an indescribable power. As soon as he spoke, The judge turned pale and began to tremble slightly. Nanteen Maharaj, highly revered saint, was also present there. He confirmed, "This is the same Mahavatar Haidakhan Baba, who had appeared as Munendra Baba, and has now appeared in this form. He has full rights over this land and its ashrams." The judge stood from his chair, folded both hands, and bowed before Babaji. He immediately dismissed the case and announced, "This court has no authority to question such a divine being." After the verdict was given, later when someone asked the judge about sudden conclusion on the case, judge replied, "When Babaji spoke to me, I saw an impossible vision. His form began to shift. For a moment, he was not merely human, he was something else, something eternal, something beyond time. I saw the entire cosmos in his eyes, and I understood. I could not judge him." A wealthy landlord from Almora, who harbored doubts about Babaji's divinity, once challenged. He said, "If you are truly a divine being, walk through this fire." Without a moment's hesitation, Babaji began walking barefoot over the embers. Not only did he remain completely unharmed, but the fire itself seemed to cool down in his presence. Witnessing this miracle, the landlord fell at Babaji's feet and humbly bowed with great reverence. Many great scholars, such as Sri Vishnu Shastri, Sri Giridhari Lal Mishra of Bharatpur, Sri Jagdish Prasad Sharma of Ajmer, Sri Jeevan Chandra Joshi of Almora, Hemchand Joshi of Pitorga, Sita Ram Das, and others, have written about the incredible divine powers and miraculous acts of Babaji in their works. All of them agree that Sadashiv Avatari Bhole Baba has incarnated multiple times on earth for the welfare of his devotees and humanity as a whole. When Baba arrived at Sri Sambhe Sadashiv Kunj in Vrindavan, his devotees bathed him in milk, ghee, and curd, adorned him with beautiful garments, and performed divine arti and abhishek. He was then placed on a grand elephant and paraded throughout the streets of Vrindavan. The entire Sri Sambhe Sadashiv Kunj was dedicated to the Lord. After the grand festival of his reappearance known as Prakatutsav, Sri Bhole Baba sat in a palanquin and circumambulated Lohban Dham, also visiting the homes of many of his old devotees, blessing each one with a touch of his divine feet. While staying in Vrindavan, Babaji renovated Sambhe Sadashiv Kunj, reinstalled the Vigrah, divine idol, of Haidakhan Baba, and installed a beautiful idol of Mahendra Baba. Along with this, various events such as sacred feasts, bhandaras, and yagyas homas were organized. The ashes of Mahendra Maharaj, which were preserved in a copper urn in the ashram, were taken to Banaras, Varanasi, and respectfully immersed in the sacred Ganga river by Babaji and his devotees. How wonderful and touching is this love between God and devotee. From Vrindavan, Sri Bhole Baba also journeyed to many other places. Wherever his devotees called out to him with devotion, Babaji arrived there for their welfare. He visited cities like Delhi, Gwalior, Patna, Ahmedabad, Nashik, Mumbai, Banaras, Allahabad, Guwahati, and others, where he conducted yagyas, havans, and other spiritual rituals at the homes of his disciples and devotees for their benefit. In June 1971, Babaji also visited the peaceful ashram in Katgharia, associated with the earlier Haidakhan Baba. There, all the loving devotees warmly welcomed him. In Babaji's presence, a Devi Bhagvat Yagya and Bhandara, community feast, were organized. This is the same ashram where, in his previous form, Baba had performed numerous yagyas and havans. He had built a temple dedicated to Lord Kedarnath, Kedareshwar, and conducted its ritual consecration and Shiva worship. It was beneath the great banyan tree located here that Babaji used to sit and carry out religious activities. Mahendra Babaji also performed intense rituals and worship at this place. During one such event, the Lord himself manifested in the form of divine light, giving a direct vision to the devotees, a story already narrated in detail in the video about Mahendra Maharaj ji. On 12 January 1972, the divine saint Sri Nanteen Maharaj came to Haldwani and expressed his desire to have darshan of Haidakhan Babaji at the Surya Devi temple. News of this rare meeting between two divine saints quickly spread, and people became eager and curious. A large crowd gathered at the Surya Devi temple. On 13 January, the editor of the local newspaper, Sandesh Sagar, Sri Padma Dattpant, met with Sri Nanteen Maharaj ji, who told him, All the powers of the universe are concentrated within Baba Haidakhan, hidden in his being. Millions have already had his darshan, and so I too shall go meet him on the 14th. As scheduled, Nanteen Maharaj, along with his disciple Mahesh Chandra Bhatt, arrived at Surya Devi temple around 1 p.m. and sat down on an asana approximately 100 feet away from Baba's hut. At that time, Baba Haidakhan had not yet arrived. A huge crowd of devotees was already there, and the valley echoed with chants and bhajans. At 5:15 p.m., Baba Haidakhan finally arrived. Devotees welcomed him with loud chants and aarti was performed. Following the aarti, bhajans and kirtans continued, but neither saint spoke a word to each other. Worship and rituals carried on as usual. Baba was then informed that Nanteen Maharaj ji had arrived. Baba instructed that he be served food. But when he was told that Nanteen Maharaj does not take grains, Bhole Baba directed that fruit offerings be made instead. The fruits were sent, and Nanteen Maharaj accepted them and continued sitting in meditation as before. The devotees, too, partook in the prasadam. The curiosity in the crowd kept growing. When would these two saints actually meet? The editor of Sandesh Sagar finally asked Baba, "Maharaj, people are eagerly waiting to hear about this meeting. Will it happen or not?" Haidakhan Baba replied calmly, "Wait." Then he instructed everyone to continue with the kirtan. As the night grew deeper, Nanteen Maharaj ji finally said, "Now I am going to meet him." He took out a plate and placed in it 5 types of sweets, dry fruits, panchmeva, fruits, 5 rupees, and a mala, garland. Taking Shri Pant ji's hand, he began walking toward Baba's hut. As they moved, the entire valley erupted in chants of devotion, and the crowd surged forward with them. Shri Nanteen Maharaj ji offered flowers at Baba Haidakhan's feet and presented the gifts. Baba welcomed him and offered him a seat in front of him. It was a divine sight. Both saints sat across from each other in meditative posture, still as statues, eyes closed, deeply immersed in spiritual communion. It seemed as though an unspoken conversation was unfolding in the spiritual realm. The devotees were lost in this incomparable divine scene, gazing in awe at the glowing faces of both saints. Meanwhile, the priest of the Surya Devi temple continued to offer ghee into the nearby sacred fire. The light of the flames only heightened the radiance of the two saints' faces. This silent communion continued for an entire hour. Then the air was filled with the sweet sound of Om Namah Shivaya, reverberating throughout the sacred space. Some people tried to take photographs of this extraordinary moment, but Nanteen Maharaj expressed his disapproval and quietly returned to his seat. This was truly a divine and miraculous meeting between two great saints. Later, an elderly devotee asked Nanteen Maharaj, "What did you see there?" He replied, "I saw him as a very old." People laughed and said, "But you are the old one." To this he said, "I am a child, he is ancient." He reassured everyone, he is indeed the same Haidakhan Baba. All of nature is in his grasp. He is the direct incarnation of Rudra, Shiva. He has transformed his form through divine power. He is immortal, and the controller of the entire creation. On the day of Makar Sankranti, the two saints met again, but this time, again, in complete silence. No one said anything, no questions were asked, as though everything had already been spoken in silence. Those who witnessed this event felt themselves truly blessed. Later, Nanteen Maharaj ji returned to Haldwani. One day, while meditating, Sita Ram Das suddenly felt a surge of powerful energy within. An inner voice whispered, "Come to Haidakhan. I am waiting for you." Startled, yet certain, he knew he had to go. He packed his belongings and set out for the Haidakhan ashram, nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas. When he arrived, Babaji was sitting peacefully among the devotees. As Sita Ram Das entered the ashram, Babaji looked at him and gave a warm, knowing smile, as if he had been waiting for him. Without a word, Sita Ram Das recognized within himself, "I have found my Guru." One morning, Babaji suddenly gave an unexpected command. "Jump into the river." The Gautam Ganga river was icy cold and flowed with fierce currents. Sita Ram Das hesitated. Thought, was this a test? Was Babaji really asking him to do this? Seeing his hesitation, Babaji looked at him and asked, "Do you trust me or not?" Without thinking any further, Sita Ram Das leapt into the river. The freezing current jolted his body, but strangely, he felt a surge of warmth and energy within. When he returned to the shore, Babaji smiled and said, "Now you understand. Surrender means total, unquestioning surrender." From that day on, Sita Ram Das understood that true spirituality means complete trust and surrender to the divine. One evening, while meditating with other devotees and chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Babaji sat silently, observing everyone. Suddenly, he spoke. "Don't chant with your lips alone, chant with your heart." As soon as he said this, the entire atmosphere was filled with a powerful, divine energy. Sita Ram Das felt his body become weightless, as if he were floating in the air. The room glowed with an invisible light. When the chanting ended, he felt as though he had entered another dimension. His thoughts had vanished, replaced by pure peace and bliss. That experience taught him that Om Namah Shivaya is not just a mantra, it is a living force. Whenever Sita Ram Das was away from the ashram, he often felt Babaji's presence surrounding him. One night, he had a dream in which Babaji was sitting on a rock by the river, calling out to him. The very next day, he received a message. Babaji had summoned him immediately. On another occasion, while trekking through the mountains, he lost his way. Suddenly, he felt an invisible force guiding him, and miraculously, he found his way back to safety. Babaji had once told him, "I am always with you, whether you see me or not." The most miraculous experience of Sita Ram Das's life occurred while trekking in the mountains near Haidakhan. Suddenly, landslide began. Massive rocks tumbled down toward him, and there was no escape. Terrified, he cried out, "Babaji!" At that exact moment, an unseen force pulled him back, and a huge boulder crashed down exactly where he had been standing. Trembling, he turned around and saw Babaji standing at a distance, smiling. Later, when he went to the ashram to thank him, Babaji simply smiled and said, "Whenever you call me with love, I will always protect you." This event changed Sita Ram Das's life forever. He realized that Babaji was not just a guru, but a divine presence, an ever-watchful protector, always caring for him. In the book, Sri Fakiranand Ji describes an eyewitnessed event. He recounts that during the summer of 1972, Sri Bhole Babaji was residing at Sambhe Sadashiv Kunj in Vrindavan. At that time, a Himalayan saint, Sri Gangotri Baba, visited to have glimpse of Bhole Baba. A message was conveyed to Babaji that a saint from the mountains had arrived for his service and was claiming to be his disciple. Babaji then called the saint into his room and granted him darshan. Upon seeing Sri Bhole Babaji, Gangotri Baba was overwhelmed with emotion. He bowed down in full prostration before the Lord and received his blessings. In front of everyone, Gangotri Baba shared that he previously had darshan of Babaji in Katkhariya, under the command of Sri Somwari Babaji. He added, "Those were your last darshan back then, and today, after nearly 50 years, I am blessed to see you again." He also said, "Bhole Baba is none other than Mahavatar Haidakhan Maharaj, who is my eternal guru across many births." Gangotri Baba then narrated other incidents related to Babaji's former incarnations and revealed that in the 13th century, Bhole Baba had lived in Tibet in the form of Lama Baba, and was accompanied by Sri Somwari Baba and other divine saints, who all received his grace. At that time, the Dalai Lama and Jungshu Lama were his devoted followers and supported him in devotional singing and spiritual practice. Gangotri Baba further said, "Bhole Babaji has taken this human form only for a short time. Wherever he goes, he will work for the welfare of all beings. That is why he has manifested in this form. Not just humans, but even animals and birds will receive his blessings. He will guide mankind toward truth, simplicity, love, virtue, and national spirit, and lead them on the path of spirituality." Sri Fakiranand Ji goes on to describe that the next day, when Babaji came to Gangotri Baba's ashram, Babaji said to him, "Ask Gangotri Baba for my Akshamala, rosary, Obeying the order, he approached Gangotri Baba with the request. Gangotri Baba, with a joyful heart, handed over an ancient, worn-out mala wrapped in old cloth and said, "Today, I am delighted to return this sacred treasure of Babaji. This mala was given to me by Sri Haidakhan Babaji nearly 50 years ago at Katkhariya Ashram. At that time, he told me, 'Take care of this sacred item. I am leaving this world and going to another realm. When I return, I will come and take this mala back from you.'" After saying this, Babaji disappeared into the confluence of the Kali-Gori rivers that very year. Hearing this account from Gangotri Baba, all the devotees were filled with divine joy. They venerated the mala, touched it to their foreheads, and felt deeply blessed. In his previous form, around the year 1840, Sri Haidakhan Babaji had constructed an octagonal Shiva temple and a hut, which still proclaim his divine glory today. A Havan Kund and sacred fire pit, Dhuni, were also established there. In the eastern corner of the ashram, a large tree was planted, which still stands today. Beneath that very tree, Babaji had set his seat, asana, and in his current form, Bhole Baba also took the same seat. In 1972, Babaji began renovation of the ashram. He had large rooms and a hall built for the convenience of travelers, and arranged proper facilities for the stay of devotees. After that, he directed the attention of the devotees toward a nearby cave, and with their help, constructed 9 temples near it. He lived with them there, teaching the true path of karma yoga through jap yoga, transforming the area into a divine complex adorned with temples. In that sacred place, Babaji not only taught mantra repetition with action, but also granted divine siddhis, spiritual powers, to his most devoted disciples. During the Navratri festival at Haidakhan Ashram, thousands of devotees suddenly arrived. There was not enough food prepared to serve such a large number, and those working in the kitchen became anxious. But Babaji simply smiled and said, "Feed everyone. There will be enough." As the food began to be served, a miracle happened. No matter how much food was taken out, the pots never emptied. All the devotees ate to their heart's content, yet the food was never exhausted. This divine incident reminded everyone of the miracle performed by Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, where he multiplied grains infinitely to feed his devotees. Miraculous manifestations of Babaji. Devotees shared that Babaji would sometimes appear in multiple places at the same time. Once, some visitors from Western countries arrived at the Haidakhan ashram, and were astonished to see Babaji waiting for them at the gate. Later, when they met a villager, he said, "Babaji was just now in the forest speaking with us." Miraculous healing. A man suffering from an incurable disease. He was weak and hopeless and came to meet Babaji. Babaji gently placed his hand on the man's head and softly said, "Om Namah Shivaya." Immediately, the man felt a powerful wave of energy surge through his body. Within a few days, he had completely recovered. Bilocation. Being in 2 places at once. Many times, people saw Babaji at different locations simultaneously. Times one devotee saw Babaji at the Haidakhan ashram, while another group saw him miles away in Almora, blessing the poor. Times a Western devotee, while returning to Europe, was stunned to see Babaji smiling and sitting next to him in the airplane. Times a distressed woman prayed to Babaji, and later reported seeing him appear in her home, even though he was physically in India at that time. This miraculous ability of bilocation is believed to be a siddhi, spiritual perfection, of enlightened beings, who transcend the limits of the physical world. Once during monsoon season, a fierce storm struck Haidakhan, threatening to destroy the ashram. The river's water level rose rapidly, and violent winds caused havoc in the valley. Devotees panicked, but Babaji calmly walked to the riverbank, raised his hands, and simply said, "Stop." Instantly, the winds calmed, the rain slowed, and the raging river returned to normal. It seemed as if nature herself had bowed before him. Knowing devotees' thoughts. Babaji always knew his devotees' thoughts, and would often answer their questions before they even spoke. Once, a devotee wished to ask a personal question but hesitated. Before he could say anything, Babaji looked at him and said, "You don't need to ask. The answer is within you. Just chant, Om Namah Shivaya. Another person, meeting Babaji for the first time, was astonished when Babaji spoke of his past, his family, and even childhood memories. One of the most miraculous events occurred when a devotee suddenly collapsed in the ashram and was declared dead. People began to mourn, but Babaji simply sat beside the man and gently whispered a mantra in his ear. Moments later, the man took a deep breath and awoke, as if he had merely been in deep sleep. Babaji smiled and said, his time had not yet come. A devotee needed to travel urgently, but had no money for a train ticket. In despair, he prayed to Babaji. At the train station, a stranger approached him and said, Babaji sent me. He handed him a train ticket and disappeared into the crowd. Later, when the devotee thanked Babaji at the ashram, Babaji just smiled and said, whenever you need me, I will be there. One day during a fire ceremony, Yagna, Vishnu Dutt Shastri saw Babaji enter the fire pit with bare hands, but he wasn't burned. The learned scholar was stunned. Though he had read about such events in scriptures, witnessing it firsthand was unbelievable. Babaji looked at him and said, those beyond the body cannot be burned by fire. Shastri realized he was in the presence of a self-realized master who had conquered the elements of nature, simplicity and spontaneity. Although divine, Babaji often displayed childlike innocence and joy. Once, while Shastri was reciting the Vedas, Babaji suddenly began singing an old folk song, completely unrelated to the topic. Shastri asked, surprised, Babaji, why are you singing this song? Babaji laughed and said, why do you want to bind me in rituals? God is not limited to scriptures. He is in the song of birds, the rhythm of rivers, and the laughter of a child. That moment transformed Shastri's spiritual understanding. He realized that Babaji transcended formalities. He was the embodiment of spontaneous divinity. Shastri once witnessed a man near death brought before Babaji. Doctors had given up hope. Babaji softly chanted, Om Namah Shivaya, in the man's ear, and he immediately regained consciousness. Shastri, who had studied this mantra all his life, witnessed its miraculous power for the first time. Babaji looked at him and said, this mantra is not just sound. It is the energy of the entire cosmos. Chant it, and you will know its power. From that day on, Shastri dedicated himself to spreading the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. Babaji always valued devotion and emotion over yogic techniques. He gave the highest place to sincere, pure-hearted devotees and blessed them with divine experiences and visions. Babaji's mesmerizing presence would fill devotees with bliss, and in such states, they would have profound spiritual realizations. He always emphasized the chanting of Om Namah Shivaya, which means salutations to the auspicious Lord Shiva. He said, Om Namah Shivaya is a supreme mantra that introduces one to the conscious power of the universe and has the ability to free one from the bondage of karma. The great devotee Sri Sadguru Srivastav, who spent much time in Babaji's presence, once expressed a deep desire to take an impression of Babaji's footprints. Understanding his heartfelt wish, Babaji permitted it while in Vrindavan. Srivastavaji applied violet ink and took the imprint on thick paper. Babaji then told a few close devotees, go and tell the world that right now I am in the body. He meant that people should visit him and get blessings while he was incarnated in this form. The footprints were taken at 5 a.m., and by 8 a.m., under daylight, they noticed that Babaji's feet bore all divine symbols, around 40 signs, of which 31 were clearly visible. Among them were the universe symbol, as Babaji is also called the Lord of the Cosmos, and others like times bow, discus, swastika, trident, serpent, Om, dot, lotus, axe, Garuda, sun, umbrella, Padma, lotus, Navagraha, 9 planets, Scorpio, and lion. It is important to note that Babaji is considered beyond the Navagrahas and the 12 astrological signs. Sri Srivastav also narrated an incident from the 1982 Prayagraj Kumbh Mela. Babaji asked, what is being done at the Mela in Prayagraj? Srivastavaji replied, during the month of Magh, a 5-week camp for the Haryakandi community can be set up. Babaji said, "Fine, set up the camp." Preparations were made, and devotees humbly requested Babaji to grace the occasion with his presence. Babaji replied, "You go, and wait for me there." People started arriving at the Mela, festival, camp from 10th January. 14th January was Makar Sankranti, and devotees hoped that Babaji would definitely come that day. However, Babaji stayed back in Haidakhan and took a dip in the sacred Gomti Ganga river there. The second bathing day was 25th January 1982. Everyone was eager, thinking that Babaji would surely arrive on the 23rd or 24th. Many faithful devotees in the Mela festival area were eagerly awaiting Babaji's darshan, divine appearance, but there was no information about his arrival. A large portrait of Babaji was placed on the altar in the camp, and every morning and evening, worship and aarti were performed before it. On the evening of 24th January, around 6 p.m., the portrait was garlanded, and a lamp was lit in front of it. Although the aarti was scheduled for 7 p.m., a devotional chanting of Om Namah Shivaya happened before time. At around 6:30 p.m., a beautiful golden trishul, trident, appeared on Babaji's portrait. All the devotees were immersed in the chanting. Sri Srivastavji noticed the divine sign. He understood immediately that Babaji had sent his blessings. He would not be arriving in person now. Srivastavji said this blessing held deep significance for him, as the divine play, Leela, of Babaji is always mysterious and wondrous. The Trishul appeared about 6 inches to the left of Babaji's head on the portrait. He thought to himself, "Why should I enjoy this divine vision alone?" And quickly invited a few other devotees to witness it too. Suddenly, the garland on Babaji's picture slipped and rested right above the Trishul. At that moment, a female devotee got up to adjust the garland. Before Srivastavji could stop her, she fixed the garland, and with that, the beautiful Trishul disappeared. This divine experience lasted for half an hour, and was beyond words to describe. Being a scholar of Sanskrit, Shastriji would often recite Vedic scriptures at the ashram. One day, he brought an ancient manuscript he intended to read before Babaji. But before he could open it, Babaji laughed and said, "Why do you need to read it? I can tell you what's written in it." To Shastriji's amazement, Babaji began reciting all the verses from the scripture without even looking at it. Then Babaji said, "Knowledge is not in books, Shastriji. It is within. When you look inside yourself, you will know everything." This incident changed Shastriji's entire perspective. He realized that true knowledge doesn't come only from study, it comes from divine realization. Once, while traveling with Babaji, Shastriji and other devotees were caught in a terrible storm. Strong winds made it seem impossible to proceed. While everyone panicked, Babaji sat peacefully. Concerned, Shastriji asked, "Baba, what should we do now?" Babaji smiled and replied, "Surrender. When you truly surrender, the storms calm down on their own." As soon as he said this, the wind stopped, and the skies cleared. This experience left a deep impression on Shastriji, teaching him that real faith means complete surrender to the divine. One evening, Babaji looked at Shastriji and said, "You have been with me for many lifetimes. Do you remember?" Shastriji was stunned. He had never spoken about his spiritual past, but Babaji began describing events from his previous lives. In one of those lives, Shastriji was a priest in an ancient temple, serving Babaji. Hearing this, tears welled up in Shastriji's eyes. He understood that Babaji was not just his guru of this life, but had been guiding him through many lifetimes. Babaji would often told his devotees and disciples, "You have been with me not just in this life, but for many births." Devotees would be deeply moved hearing this. Babaji always said, "When you call me from your heart, I will protect you." With this same assurance, in 1984, Babaji told his devotees, "My work is complete now. It is time for me to go." Devotees were heartbroken and pleaded with him not to leave. But only the divine knows its own play. Babaji, out of love for his devotees, performed many such divine acts. Once Babaji asked Shastriji, "Do you think this body is real?" Before Shastriji could answer, Babaji suddenly vanished. Shastriji was stunned. Where had Babaji gone? Moments later, Babaji reappeared some distance away, laughing, and said, "This body is only an illusion." In truth, Babaji was beyond form and body. And then, on 14th February 1984, Babaji entered Mahasamadhi, which is nothing but divine illusion. Even after this, he continued to appear to his devotees when they are in need, protect them, and bless them. His words were, "I have not gone anywhere. I am always with you. And whenever you call me, I shall come."